Take 5. Hey guys, today I want to show you how I make soap from bacon grease. I almost just poured it everywhere. Bacon grease. Today I want to show you how I make soap from bacon grease. And I like to add a little bit of coconut oil, which I got on super discount. Also some olive oil. Nothing fancy. I just happen to have those in the house and I think it gives it a little better lather. Henry, really?
Do you want to make soap? Yeah? Sounds delicious, right? You can smell that bacon fat, can't you?
The first thing you need to know is how to measure your quantities of your oils. An electronic scale is necessary. You should set it to grams for the most accurate weighing. I'm using an Oziri digital kitchen scale, and it seems to work for me. So good luck finding a good scale. Zero out your scale by hitting the tare button, okay? Press tare. Add your empty bowl, and this bowl weighs 515 grams, and I'm going to tare it out. And what that does is it zeroes out the scale, and now it's just gonna weigh the contents of what's in the bowl. I melted it in the microwave because it was in the fridge. Now, this video is not going to include how you clean the bacon grease. When it's hot, not boiling, but when it's real warm and it's in liquid form, you add water to it and then you let it settle out. You let the gross stuff settle to the bottom in the fridge and you peel off the top. You do that 2 or 3 times until you have clean bacon grease. So now this is 634 grams. 634 G, okay. My coconut oil, it's in its solid state still. I weighed it and it's 77 grams, 75 grams of olive oil. So let's go look at the calculator and I'll show you how to know how much lye to add. You do need to use lye. Lye is dangerous, and we will use all kinds of, I will use protective equipment to make sure I don't get any on me, in my eyes, or on my skin. Okay, it is caustic, meaning it will burn you. It is not good. I will enter the amounts of the oils that I have. So let's start with the coconut oil. I have 77. And up here I told it grams. And then over here we'll go to olive oil. And then I have 75 grams of olive oil. And then I have lard. And of lard, I have 634 of that. Okay, now we're going to tell it, calculate lye.
And it's going to tell me the truth, not a lie.
How much lye I want depends on where I want the soap in this excess fat section here. And the good zone is this green zone. So I'm going to choose 6, and I'm going to do 106. 106 grams of lye. And then it will suggest an amount of water to use. It says use 196 to 295 milliliters of liquid. So that is equal to the grams of the liquid that you're going to use. So you can use anywhere in that range. So I'm going to say 220. I just average it towards the low side so it doesn't take forever to set up. So 220 grams of distilled water. It must be distilled or filtered through a Berkey. Warning, always add your solid form lye, sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, to the liquid. If the liquid were added to the solid form of lye, a violent reaction could result. This means you could have a volcano erupt in your container. Some people say to have baking soda handy, but I've heard that can cause a worse result. The best thing you can do if you get lye on you is rinse it off with water as quickly as possible. People think you should neutralize it, but you're going to create yet another chemical reaction, and the best thing to do is get it off you. So we're going to wear rubber gloves, we're going to wear eye protection, and I'll put on an apron. So I have my recipe. Let's go. Now I'm going to use a stainless steel pot that I got from a friend. It's totally dented, totally old. You're never using it for food. So no worries about it not being your prettiest object. I'm gonna put all the oils in this pot and I'm gonna heat them up to about 110. You do need a thermometer, and I do recommend one of these heat gun thermometers where you can just point at the liquid and it'll tell you how warm it is. We had tornadoes last night, kind of east of here, and Dallas area had tornadoes. We're all okay. A couple people got really cut up, I understand, but I didn't hear any other worse news than that, except for some businesses are shut down, which will, of course, adversely affect some people. And yeah, so it's not that fun living in Tornado Alley sometimes. I turned on the stove medium low. Here goes the olive oil. That pour in there. And the coconut oil. Put that in there. This part you don't need your safety gear on for just yet, so hold off on that. It's the lye water mixture and then adding the lye to the oils. That's dangerous. If you need to make soap that's as close to free as possible, you can go ahead and just make the lard. Don't expect it to lather great. I've just added a small amount of the others to see if I can bring up the lather without bringing up the cost very much. Just, you know, out of interest. These I'm going to put outside because we're going to do the lye mixtures outside due to the gases that are released. You do not want to breathe those, not good for you. And so if I have enough soap to just fill this one, then that's as much as I'll do, but whatever's left over I'm going to pour into this thing. That's just parchment paper in a bread tin that I don't use for bread. I don't think this is enough to fill this. I'm going to increase the other oils and recheck it on the calculator. I'm going to add 100 more grams of coconut oil and 100 more grams of olive oil because I think I want to make sure that it fills my container. Okay, 100 more grams of coconut oil, 175 grams of olive oil, 177 grams of coconut oil, 634 grams of lard, and the calculator says to use 136 grams of lye. That puts it in the top of the green zone, and I'm going to use distilled water, 246 to more of distilled water, so we're going to put 250 grams of distilled water. Adding the additional coconut oil. Change your mind about how much oil, as long as you redo it in the calculator and make sure you have all of your calculations correct. Put this back on the heat. 102. Let's back you up a little bit. 100. It's all liquid. It's at 133. Now you have to have everything ready, including the scent that you're going to add. I'm using 8th and Ocean from Nurture Soap Company. I've got on my rain gear. Some people say just wear long sleeves, but I think waterproof long sleeves are just good, good practice. If you've got it, use it. Why not? Those gloves on. And safety glasses, very important. Tear out this cup's weight, so tear. Now it says 0, good. 136 grams of lye. I bought this at the Ace Hardware store, if you're wondering. Now we're at 138. I want to be at 136. So I'm going to scoop some of that off. 136, there we are. It says 122 grams is the weight of the bucket. I'm removing that. Now it says 0. Distilled water, 250 grams. 249, so I'm going to give it, well, 251. Good enough. I'm going to add the lye to the water. Never water to lye, because that's when a volcano can happen. Always very slowly stand back because gases are formed and you're not to breathe this. So that's why we're doing this outside. I'm adding the lye slowly to the water. You stir that up. The scale doesn't need to be here anymore. It may melt as a result of the heat. I gotta get that piece of paper out of there. There we go. Stirring it in. I'm going to add the lye solution into the pot of oil. I want the deepest side pot so I don't splash myself. Also, the lye solution goes into the oil and not vice versa. I checked the oil inside. It was at 144, so I brought it out here. The lye solution, even after being away for a couple minutes, is down to 188 degrees, and the oil solution is 140 degrees. All that lye has dissolved. Mold would be the silicone mold. I really like this silicone pan. Oil's down to 140. The lye is at 175. So it's cooled off quite a bit, but it's still far too hot to add into the oil. I got 3 of these spoons for, or 4, 3 spoons for $1 or something at Dollar Tree, and so I don't care if they melt. They're only for use on soap. Without an immersion blender, you can make soap. I don't recommend it because you will be stirring for maybe an hour. So I'm going to use this stick immersion blender. Altogether, I think my first soap making experiment, I think I spent maybe $40 or $45 on materials such as the scale and the immersion blender. Very slowly pouring the lye water into the oil. Okay. Making sure it's all mixed together. See, it's still in a liquid state. Good. The oil is nice and deep, and therefore the immersion blender will not splash through it. I'm putting this all the way to the bottom. See, it's a bit thicker, but still no trace. The dots disappear. Slow. Okay, there we go. Here we go. There's a bee. Hi, bee. Okay, so it's leaving a line there, and it leaves markings along the top. That's enough of a trace for me. Hi. Hello there. What are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna pop this part off here. Stick it in that bucket. So I'm gonna pour in a big amount of here. I've used about a couple tablespoons before, so I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna 1, 2, a little smidge more. I'm gonna stir that in. Stir it in quickly because this is gonna start to want to set up. So get that all combined. I'm just gonna pour that in there. That's why I like this silicone mold. Just pour it in there. Keep your gloves on for this part. Still not safe to leave it. Some lye on there, so I'm gonna get my hand inside the glove so I don't touch any of the part that's contaminated with lye. Looks like it's starting to set up here. Let's pop some of that off there. Clean this up all pretty. Now it's time for those pretty designs you see put on the internet. And that's all the extra I have here. That stays outside, and that bowl stays outside. Anything else I can bring in, but I'm gonna leave that overnight. Oh, and the gloves. Leave the gloves out. We'll wash them tomorrow when it's safe. It's been 24 hours and my soap is hard. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. You can wait 24 to 48 hours to cut it, and then it won't crumble. If it's ready, it will cut nicely. I noticed that it cuts nicely after 24 hours. It's funny, it's taken on some funny shapes here. I'm wearing gloves in case there's any lye exposed. And oh, how weird. I got a bubbling surface on the bottom, which I've never had before. It actually, the soap took on a strange shape. Collapsed in here and out here. Oh, that could be from me shoving it into this bread pan to carry it. So no biggie. It'll still make beautiful bars of soap. And all this little scrap that falls off, I just collect that up. You can squish that into a bar later. This is going to take 6 weeks to cure, but first we want to slice it into bars. So here we go. Oh, that is the best feeling ever. There's a bar of soap. Can you believe that was just some lard and oils and lye yesterday, and now it's soap. They may be ugly, but they work. Just the best feeling. Let's zoom in on this. It feels like you're slicing through butter or something. It's just the most, this is my favorite part, that if I worked at the soap factory, I want to be the cutter. I just love cutting through it. You'll see what I mean if you make soap for yourself. How do you like my t-shirt? This was a gift from Apple Stump Bushcraft Stuffin' Things. He's got a channel on YouTube. He taste tests MREs, among other things. Been a good friend for a long, long time. Thank you, Apple Stump Bushcraft Stuff and Things. Do you think maybe we could get that shortened? It's so hard to say.
Apple Stump. How about Apple Stump Bushcraft. The end right there. Apple Stump. See? Apple Stump Bushcraft. You had to make things hard for me, didn't you?
I hope you know how hard it was for me to say that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's a man on the roof next door. It just freaked me out. I'm like, what is that weird bird over there? It's a man bent over.
Soap needs 6 weeks to cure, so I'm going to set it up on its short side if I can and stack them like this, or lean them up against each other. Usually I have a flat bottom to lean them on. I can make flat bottom. Okay, let's just make a flat bottom. I just love cutting that. And so you can set them up stacked side by side to cure. Set them up like this with gaps, air gaps between them, so it can cure. And then every week or so, I might turn it to a different side, just so air is exposed to it. And the reason why we let it cure is so that it doesn't just melt away really quickly in the shower or whatever. You want your soap to last, so let it cure to really harden it up. And the reason I'm trimming the edges off is because when I grab a bar of soap, I don't like that sharp edge touching my hand. So I've been beveling it like this. I just like to bevel the edge, and none of this goes to waste, but I like that nice beveled edge feeling in my hand. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video on soap making. please give me a like. And if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and click the bell so you can get notifications about my new videos.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this noise making in the background.